Imagine a thermometer that doesn't measure heat. Instead, it measures how fast you are being pickpocketed. Every time the S&P 500 hits a new all-time high, your salary feels a little lighter, doesn't it? Here is the murder weapon. In 2021, a rental manager admitted that their proprietary software jacked up rents by 27%, without a single physical improvement to the building. They call this democratized finance and culture-first restructuring. Think again. It is an algorithmic street fight. One commission-free app secretly extracted $34.1 million from regular users, all while promoting freedom. Look closely. The booming stock market isn't measuring prosperity. It's measuring the brutal efficiency of a perfectly designed trap. To dismantle this perfectly designed trap, we have to look past the black box. We must understand the men who built it. They rarely look like villains in expensive suits. Look closer. This is Jeffrey Roper, a self-described numbers nerd. In the 1980s, he wasn't thinking about your mortgage. He was a humble executive at Alaska Airlines. Roper's job was to maximize revenue. He pioneered the clinical, unfeeling math that tells an airline, if a seat is empty, lower the price. If it is high demand, spike it. It was brilliant. It was noble efficiency. Consider this moment, a heavy summer day in a Nashville conference hall. Roper took that exact airline math built for airline berths, and applied it to human shelter. The algorithm didn't see people or families or home. It saw units. It saw vacant slots waiting to be optimized by a machine. Then came 2008, the crash. The end of the world for millions of families. The housing market was bleeding. But where you saw a crisis, the system saw a chance to scale. In 2012, the government, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, or FHFA, stepped in. They created a pilot program called REO to Rental. The intent was noble: stabilize neighborhoods, reduce taxpayer losses. It was a critical failure of imagination. This program was supposed to save neighborhoods. Instead, it rolled out the red carpet for the machine. It proved that managing single-family homes at an institutional scale was not only possible, it was highly profitable. But they lied. Here is the truth. Before they were buying houses on Zillow with an algorithm, Wall Street was buying them on the courthouse steps. They showed up with physical briefcases full of cash, while families were still packing their boxes. It was a gold rush. While families mourned, algorithms were bidding. In just a few years, one massive private equity firm, Blackstone, dropped $10 billion on these foreclosed homes. $10 billion. They created an entirely new asset class. They turned home into a commodity. But to truly maximize the profit, they needed something more than cash. They needed an invisible manager. The noble intent of saving neighborhoods accidentally built the monster. Roper's clinical, mathematical code was about to mutate into a sentient digital landlord. The stage was set, and you were about to become the friction it was designed to exploit. You are the friction, and in this perfectly optimized, deeply financialized modern economy, friction is systematically and ruthlessly eliminated. Look closely at the tech industry in early 2026. We witnessed an absolute bloodbath. Companies posted historic, record-breaking revenue. Their quarterly earnings calls were victory laps. Yet simultaneously, they abruptly severed 55,000 workers from their payrolls in just a few months. That is over 700 human livelihoods erased every single day. The public relations statement always blames AI integration, claiming a necessary shift toward a culture-first restructuring. But they lied. The saved capital did not go into research. It was quietly funneled directly into stock buybacks. They sacrificed human lifelines to artificially inflate the share price, ensuring massive CEO bonuses. It is digital cannibalism. This extraction mechanism does not stop at the corporate office. It directly infiltrates your investments. Remember the utopian promise of commission-free trading apps, the so-called democratization of finance. Financial engineers have a very specific clinical term for this illusion. They call it latency arbitrage. Imagine you are at a crowded bar ordering a $5 beer. A guy standing right next to you, equipped with bionic hearing, registers your exact order a fraction of a millisecond before the bartender does. He buys that exact beer for $5, turns around instantly, and sells it to you for $5.01. You get your drink, you feel satisfied. But you were just pickpocketed in plain sight. This unseen middleman contributes absolutely nothing to the economy but raw speed. This exact mechanism secretly drained $34.1 million from everyday retail investors on a single, highly popular trading app. When the communication latency differential exceeds a mere 50 milliseconds, these high-frequency algorithms intercept retail orders 82% of the time. You are playing a rigged game against a machine. I know digesting these massive, invisible financial walls is exhausting. You are tired. We all are. You might think, I do not trade stocks, so this does not affect me. Consider your rent. This is the ultimate apathy assassin. Algorithmic pricing is draining your checking account right now. In 2023 alone, algorithmic rental systems extracted an estimated $3.8 billion directly from U.S. renters. Historically, a human landlord would panic if a unit sat empty. They would negotiate. They would lower the price. The algorithm has no fear. It feels no anxiety. The software explicitly advises corporate landlords to leave apartments deliberately vacant. They intentionally starve the neighborhood supply to artificially choke the market and force prices upward. This calculated mathematical extortion adds an average artificial premium of $70 to your monthly rent every single month without a single physical improvement to the property. It is automated theft. And if you try to escape the traditional office and work in the gig economy, the algorithm becomes your judge and executioner. You fall into the information dragnet. 19% of taxi drivers and 15% of delivery workers face instant account deactivation, not for poor service, but based purely on automated time-off task sensors. There is no human manager to appeal to. You are simply deleted. The final stage of this wealth transfer is the most terrifying. Wall Street is using your own digital data against you. They know exactly how much you can afford, and they bid $1 higher in milliseconds. By 2030, institutional mega investors are projected to own 7.6 million single-family homes. That is 40% of the entire market. They are not just buying houses, they are buying your future. When Wall Street uses algorithms to buy your future, they are not just taking the physical deed to a house. They are purchasing your absolute autonomy. They are engineering a society where you own nothing and you are constantly monitored. Economists project that within 5 to 10 years, human agency will dissolve entirely into a terrifying state known as digital Taylorism. This is not a science fiction dystopia. It is a documented corporate strategy. Look closely. In this system, your workplace autonomy is completely ceded to opaque, unfeeling algorithms. These invisible managers dictate every task allocation, every micro-schedule, and every disciplinary measure with brutal mathematical precision. There is absolutely no room for human negotiation. You cannot explain a sick child or a flat tire to a line of code. Surveillance capitalism actively harvests your biometric data and records continuous screen capture logs. You are no longer viewed as a human employee. You are reduced to a biological extension of the machine. You are locked in a perpetual performance treadmill, overseen by an AI entity that never sleeps and never forgives. Now consider the broader financial market. Let us ask a deeply uncomfortable question. We blindly assume these complex algorithms were built to optimize the human experience and stabilize our economy. But what if we are entirely wrong? What if their true, hidden function is the mathematical exploitation of human emotion? The system is not broken. It is functioning exactly as designed. High-frequency trading algorithms do not merely predict the stock market. They actively and maliciously hunt the human psyche. They are apex predators in a digital jungle, and regular retail investors are the prey. These machines execute illegal strategies known as spoofing and bear traps. They artificially crash the price of a stock to trick regular humans into panic selling. Then they buy the dip milliseconds later, stealing your wealth. This relentless, algorithmic wealth extraction is so powerful and pervasive that it is now actively destroying U.S. national security. The cannibalism has reached the highest levels of the military-industrial complex. Major defense contractors are explicitly prioritizing shareholder wealth over critical investments. They are deliberately starving internal research and development programs just to pump up their own stock prices. The ledger is sickening. Between 2021 and 2024, the top 4 defense contractors spent a staggering combined total of $89 billion strictly on stock buybacks. This was not entirely private money. Approximately $58 billion of that massive sum was funded directly by American taxpayers. You paid for defense and executives bought yachts. Let's be brutally honest. Because they refused to invest in human capital, the DoD now faces massive, crippling workforce shortfalls. Vital Navy shipbuilding programs are consistently delayed and wildly over budget. They physically do not have the skilled workers to build the ships. They sacrificed national military readiness to enrich a few CEO portfolios, while the global threat level continues to rise. This is the ultimate cosmic horror of our era. The black box is closing around us. We are not the beneficiaries of this technological miracle. We are the fuel. We are the friction it is programmed to exploit and eliminate. But the machine is not invincible. I know watching high performers frantically update their resumes is terrifying. It is the deep exhaustion of being treated as an interchangeable cog. The cumulative message is that your job security depends entirely on how well you can be replaced by the technology you are building. You are burnt out, we all are, but the friction is fighting back. A massive wave of algorithmic resistance is rising globally. The Leeds Index has already documented 1,938 platform labor protests. Workers are actively rejecting the digital panopticon, and the legal system is finally waking up from its algorithmic coma. They are naming the crime. New York struck a massive blow. They passed Senate Bill 7882. It is the very first law explicitly banning coordinated housing rental pricing through algorithmic recommendations. The federal government is moving, too. The 21st Century ROAD to Housing Act was passed by the Senate in March 2026. This sweeping legislation explicitly prohibits large institutional investors from purchasing single-family homes. If a corporate entity controls 350 or more properties, they are permanently locked out of the market. The penalties are absolutely brutal. $1 million or 3 times the property's purchase price per violation. The machine is finally bleeding. The perfect illusion is breaking. We are finally realizing that true economic health is not an index fund built on mass layoffs and algorithmic extortion. True wealth is human autonomy. Do not let the algorithm dictate what your life is worth. The trap only works if you keep walking into it. It is time to step off the treadmill.